The day has finally come. Resident Evil 2 Remake is here, and I've played the entire game. This game has been in the works for so long and is one of the most anticipated games of all time for us Resident Evil fans. People have been asking for an RE2 remake ever since the first Resident Evil was remade for the GameCube back in 2002. In 2015, Capcom officially announced that they were remaking this classic survival horror game for the modern generation. After this announcement, they went silent for a few years, but at E3 2018, we finally got to see what Capcom was working on for RE2. Their goal with this remake was to take RE2 in a new direction gameplay-wise without radically changing the core of what makes RE2 a true survival horror game. I have a lot to talk about in this video, and I'm very eager to let you guys know all about my return to Raccoon City, and we'll see if this remake lives up to that original game that we all know and love. So without further ado, let's see if Capcom was able to recapture the magic of Resident Evil 2. Let's dive into it. Before we dive deep into this game, I'd like to clear something up really quickly. We've all been calling this game Resident Evil 2 Remake, and after playing the game, I think the word remake is somewhat inaccurate. Sure, all of the environments, characters, and story events have in fact been remade, but not in the exact same way as you remember. RE2 98 and RE2 2019 are two completely different games. I believe Capcom is calling this game a reimagining, and I think that title fits perfectly for what you're getting out of this version of RE2. Okay, so first up, this RE2 is still a survival horror game, through and through. A lot of classic Resident Evil gameplay elements remain in this title. In this game, you'll be finding limited resources like ammo and healing items, and you'll be solving puzzles to progress through the story. You really have to think before using your resources in this game because you're not going to be finding much out in the field. Simple things like figuring out a locker's combination and receiving some shotgun ammo feels extremely rewarding and can mean the difference between life and death. Save rooms and universal item boxes also make their return from the original games. The core of this game is very accurate to the original RE2's vision of making you feel vulnerable, but I'd say that RE2 2019 is actually a lot harder than its original counterpart. The game's standard difficulty is pretty intense. All of the enemies hit really hard, and like I mentioned before, you won't be finding many resources, forcing you to think strategically about even engaging with your enemies. Just like an RE game, in a lot of cases, it's best to just run away from monsters instead of fighting. This title also features a hardcore mode which reduces in-game resources a bit further and reintroduces the classic ink ribbon items that you have to use in order to save your game. No autosaves in this mode at all. I really liked playing the hardcore mode because it felt very classic. Every time I saved, I would accidentally leave the save room with the ink ribbons still in my inventory, and I'd say, "God, I forgot to put the ink ribbons away." That's like the most classic Resident Evil player thing to say. So pretty much everything you experienced in RE2 98 is still here, but now the gameplay has been modernized with an over-the-shoulder camera and a handful of brand new gameplay mechanics. But before we talk about the new mechanics this title brings to the table, I just have to say that this game feels very good to play. The movement is super tight and responsive, and aiming your gun feels very accurate. Whenever I missed a shot, it was totally my fault, and of course, it felt very soul-crushing. You can move while aiming in this game like in some of the later action RE titles, but moving drastically decreases your accuracy. Standing perfectly still visually tightens up your on-screen crosshair, making your next shot more accurate. So the game actually rewards you for playing it like a classic Resident Evil. There are no hand-to-hand melee attacks or dodging like in the action RE titles, so you don't have to worry about something like that breaking the immersion and challenge this game is going for. That's right, our characters are not action heroes this time. They're just normal people trying to survive. Alright, now let's talk about some of the new features this reimagining has brought to us. So while you investigate the RPD, zombies will constantly pour in through the windows from outside. You'll be finding wooden boards around the precinct that can be used to block up the broken windows. This helps with keeping zombies out of certain areas of the police station, but the amount of boards you'll be finding are also limited. You have to carefully think about boarding up the windows to certain hallways you'll be passing through often. I love this feature because it adds a whole new layer of strategy in dealing with the monsters you'll be encountering. Also, the fact that zombies just keep coming in makes perfect sense when the entire city is infested with them. Defense items from the first Resident Evil remake return for this game, and they work in the same way, giving you the option to escape a monster's grasp. But they also have another use in real-time gameplay. The knife, for example, can be used to stab enemies when grabbed, but it's also the melee weapon you'll be using to slash away at monsters. Once you use your knife to escape a zombie's grab, you'll have to down or kill the zombie in order to get it back. Once retrieved, the durability of the knife will decrease, And if you constantly use it to escape grabs, it'll break, forcing you to find another knife in the field. I believe you get about 3 to 4 escapes with the combat knife before it breaks. This makes for a very balanced experience and keeps your knife's durability level on your mind at all times. There are also 2 other defense items that your characters will find: the hand grenade and flash grenade. These are very useful for either defending yourself or for throwing at a group of zombies to clear a horde. The flash grenade is especially useful for getting past lickers. I don't know about you guys, but I always found the blue herbs to be kind of useless in most RE games. As you probably know from the past games, blue herbs would heal your character's poison status. Most of the early RE games have like 1 or 2 areas that featured poison-based enemies, making the blue herbs feel kind of pointless overall. In RE2 2019, when combined with a red herb, blue herbs now give your character a temporary defense and poison buff, instantly making these items have much greater value. It's funny because you'll be seeing a heck of a lot more blue herbs in this game than in previous titles. You also get the defense buff when making a green, red, and blue herb mix, making for like the ultimate herb combination. The map system for this game has also been drastically improved over past titles. This time when you find the map for a particular area, every single room is labeled, and if you find an item but don't pick it up, it'll appear on the map so you can go back and pick it up later. I love this because it feels like your character is actually writing down things they find on their map like a real person would do. It's really refreshing for a survival horror game. I'll just say it, this game has the best zombies I've ever experienced in a video game, without a doubt. These guys shamble around so realistically, getting caught on things in the environment, and generally just doing a really great job at jumping out at you from the shadows. The zombies in this game also break apart very realistically. I'm gonna sound a little sadistic saying this, but I had way too much fun shooting off zombie arms and legs and watching them crawl around on the floor trying their best to get at me. So much thought was put into this game's dismemberment tech, it's really impressive. You can shoot zombies clean in half like in the original RE2, and when you remove certain zombie limbs, it completely changes their behavior. Like if you shoot a zombie's arms off, they can no longer grab at you. The dismemberment system was not an advertised feature of this game, but it plays such a big role in effectively dealing with zombies. I absolutely love it. A really cool thing that I noticed about these zombies is that if you're surrounded and you're grabbed by one, another zombie can join in, pushing your character down to the floor and inflicting extra damage on you. I really like this because Capcom finally figured out what to do when attacked by more than one zombie. In other games, if you're grabbed by a zombie, the surrounding zombies will just stand there waiting for their turn to munch on you. It's just another really impressive thing about these zombies that I really love. Also, the zombie bite animations are just so cool to see. Besides dealing with the standard zombie, you'll also be encountering a bunch of familiar RE2 monsters like zombie dogs, lickers, and a few other creatures that I really don't want to spoil for you guys. There's a brand new enemy in this game that is actually very terrifying, and another enemy that we're familiar with that has been completely redesigned and works so much better than it did in the original game. I don't want your first experience of these things to be in this video. I want you to play this game for yourself. Someone who I can talk about is everyone's favorite persistent tyrant, Mr. X. X is very scary in this game. He can chase you through pretty much every room in the police station, except for save rooms. The devs did this really great thing where if you're in a room, you can actually hear X stomping around in nearby rooms, letting you know he's looking for you. Hearing his incredibly loud footsteps freaked me out every time, and I would always go into flight mode, just booking it immediately. Obviously, he is incredibly powerful and best avoided. Do not mess with this man. That is all I need to say about this. The lickers in this game are so intimidating. They move at the speed of light and hit very hard. They also usually attack you 2 at a time, encouraging you to make stealthy decisions to get past them. Like I said earlier, you can use the flash grenades to stun their senses briefly, giving you an opportunity to quickly escape. I love how this game gives you more than one option to consider when dealing with threats. You can carefully think about the way you want to approach an enemy encounter in the best way you see fit, instead of just being forced to attack something head-on. I love having survival horror options in my Resident Evil games. And speaking of options, you'll also be getting a wide variety of firearms to use against the monsters you encounter. Leon and Claire still get most of the weapons that they got in the original game, those being the shotgun, magnum, and pistol for Leon, and the grenade launcher and spark shot for Claire. This time, all of the weapons for both characters are upgradable with optional customization parts that you can actually remove at any time. Adding parts to a gun increases certain stats and handling of the particular firearm, but it also makes the gun bigger in your inventory, taking up 2 spots. This is another thing that you have to think about before continuing your investigation. Should you bring a more upgraded gun with you sacrificing inventory space, or do you just wing it and go with the more powerful option instead? If you haven't noticed by now, RE2 2019 has you thinking about every move you'll be making, and this is is exactly what I want in my survival horror games. I love it so much. Also, the spark shot in this game is not completely useless anymore. It's like the best gun. It's so cool. Almost every single area makes its return from the original RE2, and all of these places have been remodeled. Some of the RPD's room changes are slight, and others are completely different. The police station has a bunch of new rooms now, making it feel more like a real place, with additions like the locker rooms, bathrooms, and laundry room. It's really great to see because it is very weird how the original game didn't have a bathroom. I guess no one pees in the Resident Evil world. I really wanted to talk about the sewer area featured in this game. It is way better than what it used to be. The sewer is now an actual level with a ton of layers and interesting rooms to explore, instead of it being a quick 5-minute walkthrough like in the original game. You'll also be encountering that brand new enemy down here. I'm not going to be talking about the late game levels because that would be spoiler stuff. I'll just say that the classic Resident Evil world design is still here. Places fold in on themselves with shortcuts and secret passages that make exploration and backtracking really fun. The world design clearly had a lot of thought and care put into it. The last gameplay thing I'll be talking about is replayability. So once you beat the game, you'll unlock Hunk's campaign, the fourth survivor. This mode is still very unforgiving and difficult to get through. You can also replay the game over and over, trying to beat your completion times, while unlocking extras like concept art and models for the in-game model viewer. You'll also be unlocking a bunch of costumes too. The classic costumes look so great. This game also has A and B scenarios for both Leon and Claire. I was really happy that the devs put this in the game because I honestly thought they would chicken out on giving us both scenarios for each character. So yeah, you can totally do a Claire A, Leon B playthrough, or the other way around, and experience different events on both playthroughs. My Claire A scenario was around 7 hours long, and the Leon B scenario was around 4 hours long, so you're gonna be getting the typical Resident Evil game length out of RE2. You know, Capcom's just been really good to us lately. They had no reason to put stuff like this in the game, but they did it anyway, and that just makes me really, really happy. You know what else makes me happy? How amazing this game looks. RE2 uses a photorealistic graphical style. Every character, outfit, and most of the in-game objects were all photo-scanned into the game. That means all of these characters are real-life people. Leon and Claire exist in our world. Crazy. It just amazes me that Capcom let the dev team go this far graphically for a remake of RE2. It shows that everyone involved with this project actually cared and were confident in what they were doing. The same amount of care also went into all of the environments. They look downright amazing. There's so much density and detail to all of the locales you'll be visiting. The police station feels like a real disaster zone with all of the clutter and makeshift barricades littered throughout its halls. There's a lot of environmental storytelling going on here too, and all of the files you'll be finding left behind by dead officers do a really great job tying the environments to what the files are talking about. My favorite room in the OG RE2 was the STARS office, and seeing it remade in all of its glory got me so hyped. There are actually enough desks now for each STARS member, and Wesker, being the leader of STARS, has his own office. It's so cool. Since we're talking presentation, I should mention that a lot of the original tracks have been remade, but you don't ever really hear music in this game. Even the safe rooms play a quick 30-second version of the safe room track, and then you never hear it again. And this is actually one of the only problems I have with this game so far. It's good to build your atmosphere realistically with ambient sound effects, but music is also really good too, especially going to the lengths of remaking the music in the first place. Why not use it more often? I don't think the dark tone of the story would have been affected negatively if there was some music playing in the background. That being said, the music we do hear, tracks like the one that plays when Mr. X is chasing after you, really got under my skin and made me feel like I was going to die in real life. Okay, maybe it wasn't that intense, but it was still really scary. By the way, the main story in this game is so good. All of the story events from the original RE2 happen in this reimagining, but not necessarily in the same order. Things might get switched around a little bit. Both Leon and Claire actually feel their age this time around. And I'm not taking anything away from the original voice actors, because I love them both so much, but I think that these new versions of the characters just feel more appropriate for what's happening on screen. All of the side characters are here too, like Chief Irons, Ada Wong, Annette and William Birkin, and of course, everyone's favorite reporter, Ben, who's still locked in the cell. I still can't get over how amazing it is seeing all of these characters fully realized like this. I know some people thought the faces looked strange based on the trailers, but after you play the game for a while and see everything in motion, that initial strangeness pretty much goes away. Leon and Ada have mad chemistry in this game too.
The situation's worse than I thought.
You're not getting rid of me that easy. You protected me. Now it's my turn.
Didn't realize we were keeping score.
Claire and Sherry's younger, older sister dynamic is still here and is very cute. I actually found myself kind of feeling bad for certain characters that I originally never saw as good guys in the original game. Believe it or not, but there was a story inconsistency that I noticed between a certain A-B scenario playthrough, but I can't talk about it because it is literally a spoiler, so you'll just have to wait for me to cover this game in my retrospective series. There is also one part of the game that I once again won't spoil, that felt very set-piecey. It's weird because for the entire game you have full control over everything you do, but there's this one part that feels so out of place. I think it's cool what happens, but it felt like it belonged in another game. When you play the game, I think you'll see what I mean. One-off characters like Marvin Branagh and the gun shop owner Kendo have been fleshed out so much more in this game. It's really impressive what they've managed to do with these very one-dimensional characters. Some pretty sad stuff. There are even a plethora of Easter eggs from the original game that show up in this reimagining. It's so cool to see. The devs really didn't leave much out for this game. This title has very grounded writing and acting, and it's fun comparing the '98 version to the 2019 game because the 2019 version really does feel like a Hollywood film adaptation to like a 90s anime. The story has that same dark and gritty feeling that we experienced in RE7, and I really like it. I think what Capcom has done with this version of RE2's story feels perfect. I'm really excited to see what future games would be like with this new style. Overall, I think this game is really, really good. It's exactly what I needed out of a new Resident Evil game. I highly recommend you guys check it out, especially if you're a fan of the original RE2. I think you'll really like it. If you were put off by the lack of a fixed camera, I strongly advise you try this game out anyway. I too am one of those fans that really loves those first 3 games and thinks the fixed camera is perfect in every way. But like I mentioned earlier, this is a reimagining, not a complete remake. Trust me on this one, guys. Give it a shot. This game managed to retell a lot of what OG Resident Evil 2 did without feeling like it was purposely trying to replace the original. I already know that in time this game will be up there with RE2 '98 as a true classic. Much like how the first Resident Evil remake is equally as good and well known as its original version. You can tell that the devs for this game had a lot of respect for what the original creators were doing back in '98. It's funny because when this game was originally announced at E3 2018, a lot of fans immediately jumped to Capcom should remake RE3. And I remember being very cautiously optimistic, like, hey guys, let's just see how this one turns out first. Now that I've played RE2, I want Capcom to remake not only RE3, but also Code Veronica in this more realistic style. I'm all in now. We do it again. I want to see photorealistic Jill taking on a 12-foot tall nemesis in the ruins of photorealistic Raccoon City. I want it, Capcom, and I'll be waiting. I'll be at E3. Don't disappoint me. If this gameplay style and tone is going to be the future of the Resident Evil series, I'll be happy. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I still can't believe that this game actually came out and I got to play through it. I can already see myself playing this game for years. I personally think it recaptured a lot of the mystery and magic of RE2. As I played through it, I felt like a kid again. It was really fun. Anyway, if you liked this video, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you want to support my channel, please check out my Patreon link down in the description box. You can support me for just $1 per month. I also have another tier at $5 where you'll get access to my Patreon exclusive show called Inside the Sphere. It's a lot like a solo podcast where I talk about gaming and what I've been up to. I'd like to give a shout out to a good friend of mine who you might actually know about already. He goes by the name Carcinogen SDA. He's a speedrunner who focuses primarily on survival horror games like Resident Evil. He's been working on a full no-damage hardcore mode playthrough for Resident Evil 2 Remake. That's gonna be really intense to watch. I'm excited to see it. I'll leave links to his Twitch and YouTube channels down in the description box. I highly recommend checking out his stuff. It's really useful for learning how to run classic Resident Evil games. Well anyway guys, it's been really fun talking to you today, and I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Later! Wait a minute, this film is called Rising Rookie? Oh my god, they did it.